Hey, what is going on, everybody, and welcome to the College Info Geek podcast, the internet's best resource for students looking to get ahead, but a terrible resource to learn how to properly smuggle pugs, which I'm just going to call puggling.
A pug smuggler?
Pug smuggling ring, yeah.
Oh no.
I can neither confirm nor deny my
Every day I'm puggling.
in the puggling ring.
I guess.
Yeah. My name is Thomas, and I'm here as always with my good friend Martin. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about some of our favorite life-improving purchases, all of which are, I believe, under $50.
Unless you buy somewhere that's not good.
At least they were under $50 when I bought them. But then again, you and I are ancient. So I believe $50 in whatever year we bought them in is probably like $1,000 now.
That's true. There is inflation.
There's a lot of inflation.
It's expensive
I've
now.
been alive since Garfield. Like, not the cartoon character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
like the other one.
Yeah.
I don't know why he was the president I thought of.
I don't know.
I could have thought of like Lincoln.
I don't know. I definitely thought of the cat first.
Who's the best?
And the pipe strip.
Who's the best president? And why is it Millard Fillmore?
Probably I think it's Martin Van Buren because he's got a solid name.
That is a pretty good name. But what about Thomas Jefferson? How many presidents share a name that aren't like Junior? That's a question for the audience, actually.
I don't know.
Because that's a lot of thinking there. It's 45 presidents to go.
You know, I don't like thinking.
That's true. I don't like thinking either. Which, why are we in this line of work?
I don't know.
I could be digging
It
ditches,
was kind of an accident.
blissfully unaware of everything going on around me.
I am a victim of a series of accidents, as are we all.
That's true. We already talked about the redesign last week, right?
Yep.
Do we have any special fun announcements? Or do we just have to... Oh, I can't believe I'm saying this. Get into the content?
Oh, no. They're going
Without
to be happy. We got into what we said we were going to do.
No, I could think of something to distract us. I could think of something. I can't think of something.
What's your favorite Crayola crayon?
None of them.
Oh, no.
I was always a colored pencils kind of guy.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Those are pretty good. And I also liked markers, but then I always left the cap off because I was a stupid kid.
Off the top of my head, I'm going Robin's Egg Blue or Tickle Me Pink, but I'm not entirely certain.
That's pretty cool. I can't say I know any of those special colors, so
it may be the case that I didn't know many more than those two.
Those are the only ones you know. Okay. I like black, like my soul.
Solid color.
My brother has a black Kia Soul, and he always just likes to say my soul is black.
I could see that being a good reason to buy that car in that color.
Yeah. All right, let's just get into it. So all of these things, like we said, are less than $50. Many of the things on my list are far less than $50, but they've all improved my life in general. And do you know how many you have? Do you have 10?
Yeah, I have 10.
Okay. I didn't put the number in the title, so I may have forgotten how many we were all
that's fair.
coming up with. So I think unless you and I have overlap, we're going to end up with 20.
Yeah, and if there is an overlap, it just means that the item was so important we both thought of it separately.
That's true. Yeah, we did not collaborate on this list whatsoever.
No.
They're two separate lists. The one thing I did want to mention is I am aware of the irony that we did a debt episode last week.
And now we're telling you.
No,
it's okay.
Things.
These are cheap now.
So here's the thing. I have had to just get over my aversion to weird irony things like this. Otherwise, so this is a big thing for me. I want to do more content on how to pay off debt, personal finance, all this kind of stuff on my YouTube channel. And every video on my YouTube channel is sponsored. So it's like, there's like this part of my brain that's like, how dare you advertise things that cost money when you're talking about how to get out of debt? But I mean, number one, the show must go on. Two, I do believe in the products that I'm promoting, and not everyone is completely broke. And three, like if you are completely broke, then don't buy what I'm promoting.
Yeah, don't go into debt for the items we're about to talk about.
Please, get yourself out of debt.
Don't do it.
Stack those dollar bills or whatever currency that your country happens to use, and then buy these things if you want.
Yeah. Also, only get these things if you think they're a good investment. We're about to tell you why they probably are, but don't just like get $500 out of the bank and go rush to buy all this stuff.
I mean, there's at least one thing in here that personally improves my mental health. And it probably won't work for a lot of people.
I'm not trying to guess your list, but
I'm just going to say the things that have brought value to my life, and we'll see if people resonate with that or not.
Fair.
But I'm going to let you start because I've been talking a lot.
All
So
right.
what's your first item?
Okay, so
good
we're
sir?
going in the order that I thought of them. So take from that whatever sort of meta meaning
Oh, yeah.
you will.
I have no order.
So, this
well.
is just how I thought of them. My first item, under $50, life improving, is a pull-up bar
Okay.
because I hate gyms, but I do like being healthy. And if I combine pull-ups with like planks and, like either stairs or jogging jogging is the worst, but rollerblading.
Jogging is the worst. Never do it.
Basically, with a pull-up bar, I think I can get enough different home exercises that make me feel like I'm making progress.
Yeah.
That I don't need to get a gym membership or something that I would likely stop going to anyway. And I love pull-ups. So
I think you are very correct. And with some of the body weight stuff that I've been doing, like I really think you can. I've been training like this pretty simple yoga move. You just kind of get on your hands and then try to tuck your legs up. So you're only on your hands.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're doing.
It's freaking challenging. But that's the first progression to a planche. So I got to work on it. Yeah, but like that's a great, almost like full body, but a lot of core and a lot of arm stability strength exercise. And if you have the pull-up bar, you can do all kinds of stuff. And you know what? Overlap.
Really?
Yep.
Is it your first one, too?
Not the first one on my list.
Okay.
No, it was like number
we've done that
7.
so many times.
Number 7 on my list. So I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it now.
Yes, we might as well.
The door frame pull-up bar is number 1 on my list. The one thing I will say about this is you need to measure the width of your door.
Yep.
Because you and I have very wide doors, and your first pull-up bar that you bought here was actually too short. So
No, I had to like DIY it, and,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure it was a great idea.
But you got a better one now, right?
I have one that looks like yours now. They had a better one come out in Target.
Oh, cool.
Later on.
There's actually a lot of designs for these things. And I've seen some people selling like some custom ridiculous ones for $60, but mine was $22, I want to say.
Mine was in that range.
And the thing I love about mine is it has multiple grips. It's got a wide grip, it's got 2 different widths for parallel grip, and then it's got chin up, and then it has wide chin up or close grip, outward grip if you want to.
Yeah.
And my setup is more than $50. So to not cheaty face it, I'm just going to say the pull-up bar itself is the thing on my list. But hanging off the pull-up bar now, I have gymnastics rings. Those were $30 from Amazon. And I have, at any given time, a pair of Ninja Warrior training holds.
Yeah.
These, I would say, are not that necessary for people just wanting to do general fitness. Like, I've got ones shaped like bananas. I've got ones that are big cylinders for pinch training. I've got ones that are just like round, like circular ball shaped. But those are specifically for Ninja Warrior. So I would say if you want to build a pretty comprehensive hanging off the door setup, get the pull-up bar, and then maybe get the gymnastics rings. That might push you slightly over $50. But with the gymnastics rings, you can do dips, you can do all kinds of core work, you can do a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah, dips would be useful.
Yeah, if there's a little bit like $55 sitting in the bank, I would go for those two.
Yeah.
They've been a pretty good improvement. All right, my first item on the list was my very first pair of closed headphones.
Okay.
Which were the Sony XB500s. In fact, I have them. Yeah, they're right here. For video people, they're these big squishy ones. And I treat them like a baby because they don't make them anymore.
You hang them on the wall next to your desk.
Yes. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that. But yes, I would do that with a baby too. There's probably like hangers for babies.
Well,
They have, like, the chest harness
It's like a
thing, right?
trapeze. They're having fun.
They have a chest harness thing for babies. Why not also a wall hanger?
Just when you're done with the baby for a second, you just
Look, all right.
hang out there for a
All right.
second. I got to work.
I might be a monster for this, but what is the difference between those things that hang off the door that you put your baby in and like just one that you hang off the wall?
One's funnier.
Anyway, the Sony XB500s were $50 on the dot. But the reason, so I'm not going to recommend those, mostly because they don't make them anymore. What I am recommending is any pair of good quality closed headphones for under $50. The ones I typically recommend now are the Audio-Technica ATH M20Xs, which are often under $50 on Amazon, though Amazon is always screwing with prices, so you may have to like watch out for a while. I know that Monoprice actually makes a decent pair of closed headphones for probably $20 now. But closed headphones, meaning that they are a little bit isolating. They have at least some layer of foam or rubber or something that's kind of like blocking the sound from the outside world. They just unlock a bunch of new study spaces and workspaces. And I will say, like, my noise canceling headphones that were $350, those were a game changer. Those make anywhere.
I thought about that,
but those are expensive.
You may not get the noise canceling, but it'll still be good enough if you can block out a lot.
And for all, like, I didn't get the Bose noise canceling headphones until you and I were probably like 25.
Yeah, and I got mine for free from my last job. So like, it's not like
life hack. Work at a place that gives you noise canceling headphones for free because they put you in an open working environment that's kind of bad for productivity. Win some, lose some.
No, I mean, I still got the headphones, so I win some.
You did get the headphones. But yeah, I went through all of college without noise-canceling headphones. All I had were those closed headphones, and those were great. When my roommate was being loud, like when Quentin was playing lots of video games, headphones go on, play some music, I'm good to go. You know, you can still hear a little bit, but it really does isolate things. Now, for people who don't know much about headphones, with the over-the-ear type, which are called, I believe, circumaural headphones, so like completely like circle the oral cavity, there are open and closed. Open means that like there's still like a material there, but it's usually like a metal mesh and the sound can leak out. Typically, open headphones have better sound quality for many types of music, just because the sound is allowed to go everywhere, so it creates a more accurate and maybe pleasing sound. I would say that's only the case for like total audiophiles, though. Closed headphones, on the other hand, usually have better bass and they're isolating. So, and that's kind of what we're going for here.
Yeah,
something that isolates for work. And then the other thing is, I wrote down the model. The Monoprice 8323 was recommended by a website called Sound Guys. And I've talked about how I don't really like to meditate the way you do. But one way that I do like to meditate, and this was kind of started when I got my first pair of decent headphones, I'll just lay on my floor in the room, turn the lights off, and listen to a song that just like makes me think. And that's, I don't know, I think that's actually life improving.
I once did that to the whole Mars Volta catalog.
Really?
At least at the time, you know, it was all the ones that were out at the time. It was like 5.5 hours straight. I just kind of sat there, listened to it, digested it for a while.
Mm-hmm. I do remember when the new Between the Buried and Me album came out in 2010, I definitely skipped a class and just laid on my dorm room floor and listened to the whole thing. I do not regret that.
Fair enough.
Anyway, what's your second one?
Number 2 is...
I guess I've kind of gone through 2 now.
Let's see. Number 2 is a decent chef's knife. So the knife I use, to be clear, is more expensive than this because I decided to get a fancy Japanese one. But the other knife that I got that's like a $20 or $30 chef's knife, just from Target, is so much better than any of the knives that you'll get if you buy a $20 or $30 set that's like multiple. You know, those knives are bad.
I would say like the most basic cooking life hack is don't buy a set of knives.
I just got one like $20, $30 chef's knife at Target, and it will do basically anything that needs to be done other than ultra fancy stuff. So Ashley prefers using that one rather than like the Shun knife.
She likes that one more than your super duper fancy Japanese
She doesn't
one?
want to use the. She
doesn't want to ruin it.
It's super extra sharp. She doesn't want to have to take care of it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But like, she doesn't have a problem with the other one. It works just fine. It goes through almost everything. It's not as fancy and it doesn't make me as happy, but it does work just fine. It will make your cooking life so much easier because if you want to get into cooking, it's great for your health. You got to cook like a lot of more plants. You know, most of us don't eat enough plants. And if you're trying to cut plants, you're cutting all these vegetables and your knife can't do it, you're going to be annoyed. And the 20-second rule tells me that you will stop cutting vegetables if you find it to be a hindrance every time.
And then you'll start eating out, or you'll eat crappy food. And
so
then you'll have medical bills.
A good knife out of all kitchen tools, like a slightly more expensive knife than you're used to getting is like going to be way better than a slightly more expensive spatula or
Yeah. I would say out of anything
going to make
hold,
the difference.
The knife is the most important thing.
Yeah.
The knife may be the most important thing.
It makes a big difference when you're prepping vegetables.
I did not have a chef's knife on my list, but I did have a knife sharpening block.
Ooh.
So my thought behind this, because I wanted to put a chef's knife, and two things prevented me from doing so. The first thing was that I thought you would put it on your list.
That's fair. Well, I did.
I know how much you like your knife. The other thought was, no matter how good of a chef's knife you buy, it will eventually dull. And if you don't have a good knife sharpening block and you haven't taken the time how to learn how to use it, then you're just going to stop cooking. Like, you're going to go back to the exact same situation you were in before you bought the chef's knife. You have to keep it sharpened. And it's kind of a pain, but once you learn how to do it, and if you learn how to hone your knife every time you cook, you don't have to sharpen, I don't know, like maybe once a month. It's not that bad. So what I recommend is one that I got from Amazon, I believe for $30. It is just, so you can get these like V-shaped knife sharpening things, and those work okay. But what I recommend is a whetstone. And all this is a block of abrasive material of some sort. One side is coarser than the other side. And there are great tutorials on YouTube for how to use these. I believe the one that I bought was the one that Alex French Guy Cooking recommended in his knife sharpening video. And all you do is you get the whetstone sharp, you move the blade against the whetstone, you flip it into the other side until you kind of feel a burr, and then you'll eventually flip to the fine grit side and like finish off the job. And it will go, from like barely being able to cut a tomato to just slicing through it and making your life really easy. And I would say don't buy into the marketing hype for the $300 sharpening kits, because the $30 one I have is just fine.
The classic way worked they cooked a lot of food before $300 marketing was available.
Yeah. And I would say in addition to buying that knife sharpening block, I would get a honing steel. And you can probably get a honing steel at Target or Walmart for $10. It's just that circular stick. And every time I cook, before I start chopping vegetables, I just rub the knife against the honing steel. You can look up tutorials for this too. This basically, like every time you cut with a knife, the edge is so thin and sharp that the moment it hits like the cutting board, it bends over slightly. And that's what causes the dullness. Yeah. So the honing steel basically just brings that edge back into alignment. It brings it back to pointing straight downward instead of being bent over slightly. And that will extend the life of each individual sharpening you do. So combination of those two things and the chef's knife that you recommended.
It's the old 1-2 punch now.
We'll keep you cutting, we'll keep you cooking, we'll keep you from ordering takeout every single night or going to McDonald's or whatever lazy people who don't cook do.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anywho, what's your next one?
Oh, yeah, because yours just went right into it. I'm going to keep doing stuff that sets up your next one.
I swear, we did not collaborate on this.
It was an accident.
I think we just think alike.
We just like good stuff. 3 is a good notebook for ideas, goals, and or journaling. And it's not just me. Leonardo da Vinci actually filled out and carried around tons of notebooks. It's a place for free-form thinking. Mm-hmm. And so if I go to my little iCloud notes, that's not free-form thinking. I have to type. That's slower. I can't put it in wherever place I want. And sure, maybe I get a big iPad Pro and do it. But I'm suggesting a notebook because it works and it's much cheaper than an iPad Pro if you just need free-form thinking, because there are so many times where I'll come up with an idea or something that would be improving one of my projects at the weirdest time, or I need to sketch something out to understand it. Sometimes it's a lot easier for me to visualize stuff, even web stuff, if I draw out wait, what's it actually doing? Because I can't hold all the imagery in my head right now. There's too much stuff I'm trying to work through.
Yeah.
A notebook, and you know what? It's going to be so cheap. Use the leftover to get a good pen, because I love writing with a pen that feels good.
That's a good one.
And I hate writing with a pen that feels bad. So like the knife, you want one that doesn't make you mad every time you use it.
Yeah, I think the pen is an important one. I don't know about you, because I know you write in moleskins, right?
Oh, right now I've got a Leuchtturm because it's got page numbers in the corner.
Oh, okay, nice. I've used the Rocketbook, which is a pretty cool thing, but I mean, for most of my life, I just used the cheap $1 notebooks from Walmart. It didn't really matter to me. The Rocketbook is cool because you can easily digitize your notes, and you can also wipe them away, so you can reuse it again and again. But to each his own, I think. The pen thing, though, I didn't think about that. That is actually pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to have a good pen. If I was writing with some little Bic pen, I would not I'm keeping track of my daily habits and goals right now in my notebook physically, and I love doing it. But if I was filling it out with a bad pen, it wouldn't look good, and that would annoy me.
I think the biggest thing is whatever actions you find yourself doing on a regular basis, make sure your tools do not cause friction.
Yeah, make it
make it
feel good. Make yourself happy to fill out your goals or ideas or to cook. The things
Yeah.
that you know are good for you and that you want to do should make you feel good when you do them.
I think that's an area where consumerism will make you happier.
Yeah.
Like everyone thinks, oh, I'm going to be happier if I buy a bigger house or I buy a boat or whatever. But tools that make your work more pleasurable, the things you are already going to do, those are worth it.
Yeah.
You know, and like, I don't know, a good pair of boots maybe. But that's more than $50. The next one for me, really, really cheap, wall Velcro. Specifically, there's these 3M. So 3M makes poster strips. And these are great for putting up posters on your walls if you don't want to damage the walls because they stick really, really well. But then there's a tab, and when you pull it, it basically just like pulls the adhesive down and deactivates it through shear force. They have the same thing, but there are two of them, and they Velcro together. It's not actual Velcro. It's kind of like their own version of Velcro that's only plastic. It doesn't have the fuzzy side. But that's how those are on the wall. That's how this entire shelf is held up. That's how all my framed pictures are held up on the wall. And that's also how my wall hooks, which I want to make sure I didn't put that on my list. I didn't. So I have wall hooks that allow me to hang up my headphones, that allow me to hang up my climbing grips and things like that. It's just a really nice way to organize things. It allows me to not just have to rely on regular posters, but I don't damage the walls.
Yeah.
And I am made happier by living in an environment with lots of art on the walls.
Yes.
So.
And that means that if you want to move art on the walls, it is much easier to do so. Especially if it's like framed, it looks like you've done no changing. They'll never know that it looked different.
Even those big audio absorption panels that weigh probably 10 pounds each, those are all held up.
They
with
get
the
pretty
Velcro.
strong.
Yep.
They get pretty strong. My whiteboard was hung up with one.
Oh yeah,
And it was a pretty big whiteboard too. So
I was
they're
happy
useful.
when you finally embraced putting the whiteboard on the wall because I was like,
I can have like
thing's not working.
I can
out.
have like one or two things on the wall.
Yeah, I can have a million things on the wall, including a bunch of sticky notes apparently that I've forgotten about.
Well, there you go.
All right, that was what 3 for me.
I don't have
Possibly?
any idea. Well, let me just see where my next one's 4.
I'm just gonna keep going through until
I numbered mine, so therefore
I didn't do that.
my next is 4. So number 4 is a tea kettle or whatever it is you use to make coffee at home. I don't know, and I don't care which bitter plant water you drink, but
We need to have a fight about that.
well, I mean, obviously I like tea much better. It's much calmer, and calm is what I'm about. But I don't want to. What? Oh, I scrolled. I'm confusing myself. Basically, it'll save money at the least.
Because you don't go out and buy tea.
Yeah, and if that's not enough for you, I find making my tea to be a very calming part of the process.
Yeah.
It's like meditative for me to make and drink tea. And I could see it being meditative to make coffee, although maybe less meditative to drink it. But like, I find a pleasure in preparing something simple like that, and it saves a bunch of money. You're going to get a much better quality of like tea, at least, if you're making it yourself. I don't know if that's true with coffee, but it's really easy to get good quality tea that you can make at home for much cheaper than if you try to go get a good quality cup of tea somewhere.
Yeah. I would say, unless you're just going to Starbucks or Caribou, like the quality of the coffee that you're going to buy at the store is probably pretty similar.
Okay.
You may have small batch roasters who do roasts that you like better, but for the most part, like Starbucks, Caribou, all the big chains, they buy Arabica. The main quality improvement you're going to make is not buying Folgers or Maxwell House or any of the really cheap pre-ground, and never buying pre-ground coffee in general. You want to grind it yourself.
Yeah.
And making it can be pretty meditative if you grind it with like a hand burr grinder.
I would totally do that.
And so I can paint a picture for exactly how I know you would make coffee. You would have a Hario hand burr grinder. Actually, no, you wouldn't have a Hario. You would have one of the ones that's like wooden because it looks aesthetic. And you would grind your beans for 2 straight minutes at a very specifically selected coarse setting. And then you would use a Chemex. Because a Chemex is this beautiful glass, container, and then you put like this bamboo funnel thing in it.
Ooh.
And then you put a filter in there, and then you just lovingly pour the water in a circular pattern over the grounds.
Yes, and I waft the aroma because they taught me in chemistry class to waft things.
Always waft.
Otherwise,
never put your nose in it.
otherwise it's dangerous.
Yeah.
That coffee's gonna. Well, it's not gonna do anything.
not gonna do
It's just
anything.
coffee, but
Yeah.
wafting
But-
it looks fancy.
That's not how I make it. But yeah, I can see how the meditative aspect.
But yeah, I mean,
preparing
like
tea could be
the
big for
main
you.
thing for me is tea. Just if coffee's your thing, getting a coffee thing would be similar.
As it turns out,
Oh,
on my
why?
list. Oh wait, you know what? I actually had. So what I put was AeroPress and/or a loose leaf teapot. So I think we kind of had an overlap there. I put the AeroPress on there because I think the AeroPress makes fantastic coffee and it costs $25 or $30.
Cool.
You can go further. I have a burr grinder. I buy good quality coffee from the store, and I buy like the best quality milk that I can find to always like make it basically like a latte. But I think it starts with an AeroPress or maybe a French press or just some preparation method that you enjoy using that's pretty quick and that allows you to make a decent cup of coffee. But stop using the Maxwell House. I don't know if anyone actually buys Maxwell House out there, but it's filled with Robusta beans, which are really bitter and bad.
It sounds like a video game item. I just got a Robusta bean.
It actually kind of does. So what they do with Robusta beans is I think they boil them to get all the flavor out because they're that bad, and then they spray them with a coffee flavored coating that's totally artificial.
Whoa.
And then they put like 60% of that into like your Folgers, your Maxwell House, and only 40% Arabica beans, which are what you want to be drinking. Because Robusta is just a hardier plant, so it's so much cheaper to cultivate. The only problem is the coffee it makes is absolutely terrible. It's got a lot more caffeine. So if you want to get totally wired, like it's good for that. But
I mean, I guess if
like
I want the
sludge.
part that's potentially harmful over time and not the part that's pleasurable,
Yeah.
then you know what they say. If you're going to do something that may not be good for you, make sure it sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
Except that's not what they say because that's dumb.
I don't think I ever read or wrote this post. I wanted to write a post that I was going to call like harm yourself deliberately, which sounds bad, but what I mean is if you're going to do something you know is harmful, like eating junk food, be deliberate and make sure it's something you like.
Yeah, make it good junk food.
Like don't buy Skittles at the gas station because you're bored, Eat junk food because it's like amazing cheesecake or something.
Yeah. Every time you skip Skittles, you're saving up for something much better.
Exactly.
Skittles make my teeth feel terrible anyway.
Or don't buy stupid stuff all week long. Save it up for an awesome fancy dinner at the end of the week. Like buy things if you're going to waste money, quote unquote, or be frivolous with it. Be frivolous in a way that you remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had AeroPress and or a loose leaf teapot. So that's kind of an overlap.
Okay.
We think alike.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I said a tea kettle, so you're gonna need
That's true.
the teapot and the tea kettle.
Fair enough.
We're just like picking opposite sides of the same coin over and over. Okay, so my number 5 is a tricky one.
Okay.
It's the Martin Bamey Fiction Starter Kit.
Ooh.
It's a recipe for fiction. I'm gonna need you to get 3 fiction books. This should cost you under $50 unless you don't buy really rare editions. That's not the point
This
here.
could cost $0 at the library card.
It could easily cost $0 at the library. That's the beauty of it. So number 1 is a book with a main character or some other characters that aren't like you in some way.
Okay.
I don't care what way. Religion, skin color, life situations, anything. Are they an alien? I don't know. I guess that's cool.
We should each pick a book for each of these.
Oh yeah, well I've got one. So
Okay.
my book here, for an example, is a couple of books I've read in the last year, the Fairyland series, and or the Slow Regard of Silent Things, because in those the main character is a girl, and I do not consider myself a female, but when I read these books, I get so into it, I feel a little bit like I'm the main character, and I begin to empathize with situations that maybe would never come up for me. Mm-hmm. And I think if you read a book where somebody's not like you and you get to start to empathize with them, this will make you more open-minded and empathetic. And I think that those things make you a better person in general and at least more socially intelligent.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The book that comes to mind for me is The Diamond Age. And the main character is also a girl, like a child. Though I think your pick may be better because the author is also female for your book.
Yeah, and I'm not like a little 12-year-old girl,
Neil Stephenson is like me a lot.
That's fair. But yeah, and there's plenty of other stuff that I'm planning to read that's like this, because it is interesting to see through another person's perspective. And I think reading is one of the best ways to do it, because you picture it all in your head. Where in a movie, that character is not me. It's that character.
Yeah.
They're right over there. When I read, I get to be whoever I want in the book and identify with whatever I see.
How do you position a game like Celeste along that spectrum? Because you're playing as her.
I think that, I view a lot of video games to be similar to books if the stories are good enough. So I like that game. I don't normally play platformy skill games.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a great platformy skill game, but I loved it more because it had exploration and story, and I got to resonate with a character.
Yeah.
A lot of video games feel like the person who did it was like, I really want to write a book, but nobody's going to let me, so let's make it a game.
Yeah.
And the stories can get pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of games don't have great stories, but that one,
and
I think that one's a good example.
Well, yeah, not
of
a lot of games don't, but that one's
a good example of what you just suggested here.
Yeah.
Because you're playing as, at least if you're me, you're playing as the opposite gender. And I don't know, that game just made me think a lot harder about anxiety, and it changed my perspective.
Yeah, so stuff like that. And, it could be a game. It could be whatever you want. I chose fiction because I like to read a lot of books. But, yeah, so the first one's just something that helps you learn to empathize with somebody who's not like you in a different situation. So, second book, the opposite, one with a character that resonates with you or inspires you, because this is where like representation will factor in. So my book pick was Turtles All the Way Down, because the main character has obsessive compulsive disorder. And that meant a lot to me to read it and be like, oh man, this makes me feel less isolated. This all makes sense. I totally do that all the time. And I know exactly how that feels right there. Yeah. And I think that it doesn't have to be something debilitating like that, It could also be they have similar goals to you. They inspire you to do something you want to do because they're good at something that you're getting good at. Or maybe it's a situation in life like they're going through poverty or their parents got divorced. Something that you resonate with that will either help you get through something, make you feel less alone, or make you feel even more like yourself. So like in TV, in Avatar, the cartoon, not the blue people.
Yeah.
The air nomads made me feel this way because they were so peaceful and calm and that resonated with me so much that watching that show and being able to identify with those characters made me feel more like myself concerning those traits. So that kind of a feeling. Validate yourself.
Okay. I think for this one, it's Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality.
That's fair.
And I'm not entirely like Harry in that book, but there's enough, and that book made me a better person.
But it validates like a trait that you either value or stuff like that.
I value seeking the truth, and not becoming too emotional in my responses to things. And that book just made me think harder about that and make that a bigger part of my life.
Yeah.
This week's episode of our show is brought to you by CuriosityStream, which is an ultra high quality streaming service full of content for people who love to learn new things across a broad array of topics. Now, if you've been watching or listening to this show for quite a while, you will know that I am the kind of person who has an insatiable desire to learn things in tons of different topics: math, science, society, politics, all kinds of stuff. When I walk into a bookstore, I really don't want to leave. And CuriosityStream is a service for people like me and hopefully like you. They've got content in a ton of different areas, including science and nature and history and technology and society, and all of it is super high quality, really well produced. In fact, this service was founded by the founder of the Discovery Channel, which was probably one of the most useful, if not the most useful channel that I watched on TV growing up. So I kind of see this as a natural extension or the modern version of the Discovery Channel, which is something that's really cool to me. So if you are also one of those kids who grew up watching the Discovery Channel, or you're just somebody who wants to develop a broad array of knowledge in tons of different topic areas, become like that Renaissance person, but also be entertained and engaged while you learn, then I think this is a service that you're going to want to try. And if you're looking for a place to start, I'm just going to recommend the place where I started on the service, which is a documentary called The Age of Hubble, which explores what we've learned about our universe through the use of the Hubble telescope and other super telescopes. It has awesome visuals, and the narrator actually kind of sounds like Christopher Lee, which is really cool to me. So that is where I'd recommend that you start. And you can actually start for free. A subscription to CuriosityStream starts at just $2.99 per month, but you can get your first 30 days completely free by going over to curiositystream.com/collegeinfogeek and using the promo code collegeinfogeek during the sign-up process. And I'm going to spell that out for you since a lot of you guys are listening here. It is CuriosityStream, so CuriosityStream, STREAM.com/collegeinfogeek. And hopefully you can spell that one since you have been downloading episodes of this podcast with that name for probably at least one episode's worth at this point, but hopefully for longer than that. Now, when you sign up for CuriosityStream, you're going to have access to their library across a ton of different devices. They are on iOS, they're on Android, Roku, Amazon Fire and Kindle, and tons of other platforms, including, of course, your web browser, since they have a web app that works across basically all web browsers. So once again, if you want to get 30 days of completely free access to CuriosityStream, you can go over to curiositystream.com/collegeinfogeek, and don't forget to use that CollegeInfoGeek promo code when you sign up. Big thanks to CuriosityStream for being a sponsor and supporting our show, and I also have to extend a big thanks to our other sponsor this week, Brilliant. Brilliant is a fantastic learning resource for anyone hoping to improve their skills and knowledge in math, science, and computer science, and for anyone hoping to become a better problem solver overall, which I hope that you are that kind of a person, because if you've been following College Info Geek for any length of time, you know that the best way to learn, the most effective, efficient, and quick way to learn is to learn actively, to immediately throw yourself into challenging problems, to get into the thick of it, not to learn passively. And that is the learning philosophy that Brilliant applies to every single course they build. They know that active learning always beats passive learning. And that is the philosophy that Brilliant applies to every single course they build, which is why when you start taking one of those courses, you're going to be immediately thrown into tough problems that you may get stuck on even pretty early on. I know when I started taking their computer science algorithms course, I got stuck on a pretty early problem and I had to consult their wiki, do some in-depth learning, and then come back with new knowledge to solve that initial problem. Within Brilliant's library, you're going to find tons of different courses you can take, ranging from math courses like calculus and algebra to science courses like gravitational physics and classical mechanics, and tons of computer science courses as well. But the course that I'm going to recommend for you guys this week is their probability course, because just the other night I was going through the College Info Geek podcast archives and I came across episode 57, which was about rationality and precise thinking. And I was just reminded of this fascination I have with probabilities and how thinking in probabilities, even from a holistic standpoint, can help you make better decisions. And if you take an actual probability course and figure out how it works, then your abilities in that area grow even further. So that is the course that I'm going to recommend you start with if you want to listen to me. Otherwise, go ahead and sink your teeth into anything in their library. Now you can start learning for free today by going over to brilliant.org/collegeinfogeek. And if you're one of the first 83 people to use that link and sign up, you're going to get 20% off your annual premium subscription. Once again, that is brilliant.org/collegeinfogeek. And if you were one of the first 83 people to use that link and sign up, you're going to get 20% off of your annual premium subscription. As always, got to give a huge thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring this episode and in general being a huge supporter of College Info Geek and the work that we do here. Let's get back into it.
So my third book, third fiction suggestion here is one that makes you think. So Methods of Rationality would probably also work for you there.
Yeah, definitely.
My pick was Sirens of Titan because that book led me down like a path of more philosophical thinking about morality and ethics and stuff. Basically, all Vonnegut books make me think a lot.
Yeah.
But just one that kind of expands your perspective in a I don't know, a deeper way.
What fiction have I read? I haven't read a whole lot of fiction this year, especially fiction that made me think, because Anna's been having me read this trilogy of fantasy books that, while good, haven't made me think a whole lot.
They're more like for fun fantasy, adventure-y stuff. But all Vonnegut's books make me go, I really don't know how I feel about that situation. Is that good or bad? That's interesting, and I love being able to challenge myself like that.
I remember having a conversation with you where I had said Sirens of Titan would have done the same thing for me, if not for the fact that I had already read Methods of Rationality.
Yeah.
I think it did the same thing for me that book did for you. And I enjoyed that book.
Yeah.
So I can't think of another unique one off the top of my head that made me think a lot. So I'm just going to go back to that one.
Yeah.
My prediction is that people will like this tip more than any other. So good job.
I tried.
Because I think it's pretty good.
I was like, I got to think of a way to sneak books in here, but I got to make it a weird starter kit kind of thing.
I love r/starter kits. I don't know if you've ever been there.
I've not.
It's a good subreddit. Just like I don't know, like hipster starter kit or like, I don't know, Call of Duty gamer starter kit or something like that. It's just pictures of Mountain
I've
Dew
always
and
wanted
Halo.
to start being a Call of Duty gamer.
Well, you can.
All right.
If you find that starter kit, I'm sure it exists. All right. My next one is a lot less insightful. It's a plug strip.
It's great. It's great because that's like a very useful thing, but it's like so simple.
It's so simple. There's really not
I
much
love
to say
it.
about it. The reason this is on my list is because I travel a lot. And this is less of an issue now because I think devices have gotten better with their batteries. But for much of my adult life, when I would travel, I would need a place to plug in at the airports. And people are always hogging the airport outlets. So I would travel with a plug strip, and then I would come up and say, "Hey, do you mind if I plug this in? And we can both use the power." So that would allow me
You're a hero.
to get work done at the airport, but also it often was a conversation starter. So I actually met people that way. And I guess I could just walk out to people and talk to them, but this was kind of like an interesting, like very easy, organic way to start a conversation.
Yeah.
So a little bit more than just, oh, it gives you power, but
Yeah. No, that's a good one.
a funny one to follow up yours with.
Yeah.
Not much more to say about that, so I'll let you.
Okay,
move
so
on to your next one.
here I go again. It's the nonfiction starter kit.
Of course it is. We had to give people a little bit of a break there.
Yeah, it was plug strip. Calm down. Calm your brains down. All right, so one, a productivity book. So Essentialism is my suggestion there.
I'm going to go with 10 Steps to Earning Awesome Grades by Thomas Frank.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's pretty good. No, I'm going to go with, you said Essentialism?
Yep.
I'm going to go Deep Work.
That was my next. If you've read both of those, Atomic Habits and The Productivity Project are both
Okay, also
really
great.
really good. Also, just don't need to reread the same productivity book necessarily.
Yeah.
So yeah, one that's pretty obvious, productivity. Two is a book about a random topic that fascinates you. So I just read a book on botany, and learning is fun, and humans love to learn, but it's easy to forget that we love to learn when we're forced to learn nothing but things we don't care about, and we don't have any fun doing it. So just something completely. I'm not doing a botany project. I'm not making a botany website. I'm not particularly good at it at this time. It was just to be like, that's really fascinating,
Yeah.
and just learning.
Mine would be The Victorian Internet by Tom Standage, which is a history of the development of the telegraph.
That does sound
I
interesting.
thought it was really cool. And then it goes into how that turned into the development of the phone, and it's basically the precursor to everything we do.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
It's a pretty sweet
interesting. I just feel like sometimes we get too bogged down by classwork and we forget that it's fun to learn new things.
Yeah.
And the third is a cookbook that makes food exciting. So my favorite is Isa Does It by Isa Chandra Moskowitz, but and I certainly haven't used every recipe.
Yeah.
But just flipping through it and looking at the recipes and looking at her suggestions for cooking utensils, I get excited about food. It resonates with me. And anything that makes cooking resonate with you is good because like cooking is one of the most simple habits you can form that will make you a healthier person.
Yeah.
Mass-produced food is not good. It's
Nope.
Businesses try to cut corners because their goal is profiting. But and for a long time in human history, cooking wasn't an option for most people. Or not cooking wasn't an option.
Yeah.
Like you had to cook or you just couldn't eat food. And when I cook, it makes me feel closer to nature when I have to prepare solid, real foods like that.
Mine would be The Science of Cooking by Dr. Stuart Fairmont.
That's a good one.
Do you have that one too?
No, I saw it when you picked it
That's
at the
right.
store, and I was flipping through it, and I was like, this is really fascinating, actually.
It's a really cool book. It doesn't have many recipes, if any, but what it does have is explanations of basically everything in cooking, like the doneness levels of steak and how to tell, or how to cook things in papouette, or the different utensils you might need, or I keep always forgetting the name of the process that happens when you cook food. It'll be in the comments.
I feel like I know
there's a word
what you're
for
talking
it.
about.
Yeah, I don't.
But yeah, and it doesn't matter that doesn't have recipe because like you can get recipes on the internet, and that's why I think it's got to be one that resonates with you, makes you feel good and excited.
Yeah, it's like it's the name. Or it's like the name that I don't know, that describes the reaction that happens, and I just
it's
right on the tip of my tongue.
It's so close. I just can't.
But I can't find it. And Googling cooking process name.
Maillard?
The what?
Maillard, something with an M?
Maillard reaction or something like that?
Something like that?
It's something like that.
I'm not quite sure.
And now I don't know
its
if I can
origin
pronounce
or
it.
its spelling.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I can pronounce it, but I think it's like it looks like Maillard if I'm pronouncing the L's like a yeah.
You're correct. Yep. That's what it is. If not pronounced maybe this exact right way, but I think that's what it is. Yeah, that. So it's just, I don't know. I found it more interesting than a cookbook because it taught me the science of cooking. And I kind of understood things. Like, this is why you salt a steak before you put it in the fridge. And this is why you want to put it in the fridge for 30 minutes before you cook it. I'm like, oh, okay, I understand it now.
Yeah.
It's not just blindly telling me what to do. It's telling me why.
Oh, and you know what? I was watching Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat on Netflix. It's based on a book, too. But it taught me the difference between coarse and fine salt, and I never even occurred to me to think about it. But, like, the fine salt dissolves quicker, so it tastes saltier, so you put it on strong-tasting stuff like meat. But coarse salt's slower, so you put it on, like, vegetables so that you can taste the vegetable and it's not super salty.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, that is such a simple, but, like, that makes so much sense. So even even if you're just going to watch a documentary on Netflix, there are plenty of good ones on cooking. I don't care that it doesn't have to be a book, but something makes cooking exciting.
I would recommend Mind of a Chef. Love that series.
I don't think I've seen that one.
440 out for Anthony Bourdain. That one hit me hard.
Yeah.
But he narrates it, and the first season follows David Chang, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of cool sciencey stuff in there. Also, Good Eats, of course. Good Eats is fantastic.
And Chef's Table, the episode with Jean Kwan, the
South
Korean Buddhist.
Chef's Table doesn't
that excited
teach you how to cook as much, I think. It's more just
it just excites me.
Yeah, it does get you excited, and that's also useful. I would say Good Eats is the closest thing to the science of cooking in TV show form. It's like Bill Nye the Science Guy, but for cooking.
Yeah.
Only problem with that one is you have to buy it, I think, on Amazon. There's no way you can stream it. They were on Netflix for a while, but that was a while back.
Fair.
All right. My next one is a pocket knife. I don't know if I have mine on me. No, I don't. It's out in the living room. I use the Rat 2 from Ontario Knives. I believe it is about $20. Just a folding pocket knife. It's surprising how much of a life improvement a pocket knife is. From being able to open, packages more easily, it can become a useful tool at times. You may want to get like a Swiss Army knife. I find a pocket knife just works.
Yeah, I actually never thought I would need one until you got me one during our...
When I gave you the ultimate man box.
Yeah, and that pocket knife, I use it all the time.
Yep.
And I never would have thought about it. I'd be like, I use scissors to open a box. This is way better to open, like, everything.
It's so much better. It's so much better, but I don't know about you, it sometimes tempts me to open things where I should use scissors. Like if there's a zip tie around something, I'm like, I better go get the scissors. Because
I open those with my knife.
It's a life deprovement if you cut your finger open on the knife. So please use the scissors.
I mean, if I can't do it safely with the knife, I definitely get scissors. But the knife's more fun.
It is more fun. It does make you feel cooler, and that is a life improvement.
Yep. Well, I also got the hatchet, and I could use that to open the zip tie next time if I just hold the hatchet still and swing the axe near my fingers.
That's true. What all did I put in that box?
There was like a beard kit or something.
I remember I filled it with cedar chips, and then I put a hatchet,
and then
the pocket knife,
Blood Meridian,
the manliest book I could think of. It's also brutal, and a tiny bottle of very, very peaty scotch.
Ah, yes,
that's what it was.
Yes, it was a good kit.
That was one of my favorite.
But
gifts
pocket knife surprisingly useful.
Yeah, very useful thing. So I'm gonna put that on the list, and I'm going to recommend the Rat 2 from Ontario Knives. I did an afternoon of research once, and everyone liked it, and it was $20. So I think I've given the Rat 2 to at least 3 people.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I haven't given it to you because I got you one that I thought looked better for the gift set because it has that little wooden texture
Naturally.
on it. But I've given the Rat 2 to my brother. I've given one to a couple friends. It's a good gift, actually.
Knives are the gift that keep on giving.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know what the context is there.
I'm not
gonna
sure.
think about it too hard.
I'm not sure.
Let's have you move on to your next one.
All right. So 7 is a personal blender.
Yes.
So
Yes.
smoothies are one of my favorite ways to pre or post workout nourish myself. It's a good way to get some extra vegetables in, get your leafy greens and stuff. And while I have a slightly more expensive blender now, I had been using for quite a long time this little $20 like Oster, I don't know how they pronounce it, one. And it was just $20. It's just like a personal water bottle size thing. You put the ingredients in, blend it, and drink it immediately out of the container.
Oh, nice. So it's like a cheaper NutriBullet.
Yeah, it's like that, but it's less powerful, so it's not going to necessarily break up seeds and fancy stuff. But it'll break through frozen fruits and leafy greens, and it gets the job done. It's $20. It is a very easy starter into the life of starting to care more about your health. Much more easy than a Vitamix, which is like $300.
I know this now because I have bought one.
And I kind of still want one someday because they're supposed to be really strong at certain things. But the $20 one, fantastic starting point.
Now that I've used my because you asked me how I thought.
Yeah, like whether it was worth it after the
NutriBullet. Now that I've used it for a couple weeks, yes, because it can blend my smoothies to a consistency and smoothness that the NutriBullet couldn't do, and I'm not worried about it breaking.
Yeah, it's supposed to be able to break through little tiny seeds and ice and like everything perfectly.
Actually, yes. With the NutriBullet, I would always have to I would get the chia seeds stuck in my teeth, and I would have to bite through them.
Yep.
With this, that happens so much less often. I can blend those seeds just perfectly.
Yeah, because it's hard to break through those, but like.
But that's expensive.
But so it doesn't matter for starting your health journey.
Yeah.
The personal one, I used it for like all of college and a lot of my time here in Denver, actually. I was still using it.
Yeah. I'm really glad you put that on the list. I forgot that there were blenders for under $50, but of course there are. And it's ridiculously easy to make smoothies.
Oh, also, it's a really small counter footprint. It's since it's just a little water bottle shape, it's a really small blender. So.
That's true. Something that cannot be said for the Vitamix.
It cannot.
That thing is big. I do not keep the pitcher on the counter because the base plus the pitcher doesn't even fit under the cabinets. It's really tall.
It's a monster.
Okay, how much do I have left here? I think I only have 3.
That sounds about right.
So my next one is a toolkit. My first toolkit, my mom bought it for me for college. I think it was like a $30 set from Walmart. Made me the hero of my dorm, because so many people never came with toolkits, and I was able to help people put together their loft beds and fix things, and I can fix anything that I need to around the house. So start out with just a cheap $30 one from Walmart. It'll get you like a serviceable ratchet set, serviceable pliers, screwdriver, hammer, a tape measure, basically things that you don't really think you need until you need them, and then you're glad you have them.
Yeah.
And I think a theme of this list has been that we have started out with things under $50 and then moved to more expensive things. Same thing has happened with my toolkit. I now have like a custom tool bag, and I've individually selected tools from brands that I want and care about. Yeah. But that's been a long process. And that started with just my cheapo $30 just set from Walmart.
Yeah. And I think one of the hidden benefits here that's less obvious than being able to fix stuff is that when you've got the stuff there to fix stuff, you feel a little less helpless.
You do. And you think of things. If you don't own the tools, sometimes you never even think that you could do something, so your brain just passes over
You skip right over the problem.
But if you have the tools, you might see something in your apartment and be like, wait a minute, I could improve that.
Yeah. Ooh. And that's empowering. That's how you start to be a good problem solver, is by, having this stuff available and challenging yourself.
Like for the longest time, the window in our living room was just like this boring window with these awful vertical blinds. And then one day I was like, you know what I have? I have a screwdriver and a drill and all these things at a level. I could put up curtains.
Yeah.
And they look so much better.
Yeah, you don't have to be like, oh, I can't do anything about that. You realize, wait, I can fix this myself.
Yes. And maybe you could build yourself an elaborate podcast set.
Yeah.
Because this thing required tools to build. I'm pointing at the shelf behind us.
It's a good
listener audience.
It's a good shelf.
It's a decent shelf.
It does its job.
I remember when we got this
Velcroed to the wall,
and we realized it would not stand on its own.
It does not. It's too thin.
It is Velcroed to the wall, and it looks pretty good.
But it looks nice.
Yes. So yes, toolkit.
Yeah, toolkit's a solid one. All right. My next is a meditation cushion, or Zafu, or a meditation bench.
Okay.
So the little fold-out one that I got. So basically, lots of people talked about why meditation is useful.
Yes.
It can help you stay calm. It's good for your like heart rate and breathing skills because learning to breathe correctly, a lot of us breathe too shallow because we're used to electronics and we're not paying attention to our physical presence.
I need to do a video on that.
And that's not good for us. It increases anxiety and heart rate.
They call it screen apnea.
Yeah, it's not good for you. But meditation is good for you for lots of things. And you know what makes it better is when you're comfortable. And you know what's really uncomfortable is sitting on the floor cross-legged, whether it be regular cross-legged or in half or full lotus, some fancy meditation position, unsupported. It's not, you're like using your lower back in ways that aren't that comfortable.
Yeah.
And like the reason you get the cushion is because if you're sitting half or full lotus, your knees are ideally touching the ground, and then you're sitting on the cushion, so you're forming like a tripod that just supports you, and you just kind of naturally are sitting up.
Yeah.
Because you can't meditate for like, the monks were meditating for like hours. They can't do that if they're like working out their back the whole time.
True.
And then there's this meditation bench that we can link to in the show notes. I don't remember who made it, but I got it on Amazon. And basically, it'll allow you to sit like kneeling, like seiza, but it'll allow you to put your feet under the bench and you sit on the bench. So if when you would sit like that normally, you're kind of straining your ankles. A lot of us don't have very flexible ankles to do that.
Yeah.
Then you can sit on this bench. It's perfectly comfortable. And meditation is a lot easier when your body kind of falls into place so that you can focus on your breathing and your mind more so than, this is really uncomfortable. Do I have 3 more minutes left? I hate this.
Yeah. Yeah. I also want to mention that I am now breathing manually.
Yeah.
Because you remind me of breathing, and now I'm like,
oh, I totally get stuck.
Deep breaths.
Like if I get too into something, I'm like, oh, wait a second. Am I breathing?
Yeah.
I should do that. I should probably keep breathing because my ability to think through this problem is going to go way down. And it's just a habit that we fall into. Meditation helps with it. So does yoga, I think.
Yoga does. Meditation does. Singing, like if you take vocal lessons.
That makes sense.
If you take lessons for any kind of instrument that is like a breath, kind of a woodwind or brass. Obviously, guitar is not really going to help your breath much.
Yeah.
But anything where the practice of the thing requires that you breathe deliberately or use good breathing technique will actually carry over into your everyday life. There's a whole article about, well, not article, it's in a book I have about screen apnea, basically this shallow breathing problem with electronics. So I do want to do a video on that at some point. And I've been like telling myself that's it's too small of a topic for a video, but I think it would be good.
I think it's
Just do
useful.
it. Yeah. All right. I think this is my penultimate item here, and it is my money tree. And it's not a tree that grows money, unfortunately.
Not like that one.
It is just a real small tree that I have in my living room. And really, I'm just going to recommend plants. And this is just something that improves my mental health. I just like having an environment with plants in it. I never really considered it until this year, and then I went out and got some. I think we started out with very, very cheap succulents, just in a pot. And I don't know, it's a little bit meditative to water them every morning or whenever they need to be watered. And I just like having them in my apartment. They just make it a better place to be.
Yeah. I think having something to take care of like that is also like a responsibility builder in the same way that the toolkit is an independence builder.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do have to ask you to take care of my plants sometimes.
That's true.
So,
I mean, you're gone. And asking me to
sometimes.
take care of it is proving your responsibility by not saying, it'll probably be fine. Let's just
That's true.
let the plant die while I'm gone. You think enough to make sure somebody's taking care of it.
The funny thing is we live in a very dry state.
Yeah.
And the money tree is a tropical plant that loves humidity. So we have an apartment full of succulents and aloe, and then the money tree. And the money tree does the best.
Yeah.
Like the succulents have withered and died.
It's got the little thing under it, humidifying it better. And
I think I've just put more care into it.
Yeah, you probably also pay more attention because it's the one most likely to die here.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I think with some of the other ones we thought, oh, it'll be okay to put it into a pot without drainage. They're succulents. We never have to water them anyway.
I feel like the public has been maybe misled about succulents because they seem to die really easily in a lot of situations, and all I hear is how they don't. But I still see them die, so I think maybe marketing has done something for succulents.
It's possible. Yeah, there's probably some like minimum standard of care.
Let me read my next botany book and find out.
They just draw water from the air. You never have to do anything. Now you got to do something.
Well, yeah, not when there's no water in the air. Like
True.
Like here.
Yeah. All right. What's your next one? Or I guess Is this your last one?
This is my penultimate. Number 9 is a domain name.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty clever because having a domain name could mean anything. So I got my personal website, martinbay.me. That lets me control my personal brand. That's valuable.
That's true.
I want to fly with hippos. That kept me my first job out of college with making a love letter site. I just bought yomartholomew.photos because that's an extension now.
That's pretty good.
So that way I can casually sell prints.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like all of those domain names are cheap, but the possibilities they represent and the projects they enable mean something.
As long as you don't get into the habit of buying too many domain names and never doing anything with them.
I am sitting on a few, but they're for a project that I meant to complete earlier this year.
Okay.
But like, as long as you do something with it, a domain name could be a game changer because like it puts out your project to the world.
That is true. This episode's not even sponsored by Hover.
Yep.
So.
Well, that's just proof that I put it on the list on purpose for me.
That's true. Yeah. I still go there to get them.
Yeah.
They don't just sponsor us for me to say that I do use
Hover, I said this on accident. Give us
money.
I
that's an organic
I get paid every
recommendation.
time I say it.
Yeah.
Hover, TM.
Brought to you by Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
I love that movie so much. Okay. I guess my final one is actually kind of an advertisement for a service. It's a subscription to Google Drive.
Okay.
Or Dropbox or SpiderOak or Box or literally any cloud sync service that allows you to have your files everywhere.
That spider one has a cool name, so I'm gonna give it that.
And I think it was this morning or last night. I was trying to convince Anna, and she's gonna hear this, and she's going to give me crap about it because she edits this. I just now realized this, but I'm on it. I'm committed. I gotta say it now. I was trying to convince Anna to move all of her files into her Dropbox folder because I think she uses Dropbox. And she's like, I don't want to do that because what if I don't have internet? Then the files are all on Dropbox and I can't work on them on my computer. So and I think she gets this. So I'm not like, dear Anna, I'm not telling this to you. I'm telling it to everyone else who might not get it. What Dropbox and Google Drive and all these programs you install on your computer do is they upload your files to the cloud, but they don't take them off your computer. So all your files are stored on your local drive, they're stored in the cloud, and they're stored on the drive of any computer you have that software installed on. And then when you use your mobile apps, you are accessing the versions in the cloud. And anytime you make a change to one of those files in any location, the software notes that change and then updates the file across all of your locations. So it means you have access to everything everywhere, and you can do work anywhere, and it's going to sync your changes everywhere.
Yeah, and you've got the backup by default because like
backup.
Dropbox or Drive or whichever one you're using, that's the online backup.
Yep.
Now your computer and any computer you're using with the files is a backup. Any external hard drive you use for backups is a backup. I've got so many backups of all my files, I'm not scared at all about losing them.
And this is the big thing. If you don't back up your files somehow, you are trusting that one computer to save them. And computers die.
Yep.
Your house could catch on fire. It could fall out the window somehow. Or more likely than not, the hard drive just fails somehow.
Yeah, I might steal it.
I have some there's one hard drive in there that's probably 4 years old at this point, and I'm very cognizant of the fact that I should probably just get a new one, transfer everything over, and just kiss it goodbye, because someday it will die on me, I know, and I would rather get ahead of that.
It's devastating to lose your files.
Yeah, that's a lot of work, and you could lose things that you need access to. The reason that I recommend Google Drive is purely for price reasons. Because as far as I know, every other service out there, I'll use Dropbox as my little nitpick. They are either free, and with Dropbox it's 2 gigabytes free, or you got to pay $10 a month for a full terabyte. Google Drive gives you 15 gigabytes for free. And
that's pretty good.
They do also for $10 a month you get 2 terabytes, so double the space, but they also have a $2 per month plan that gives you 100 gigabytes. And other than maybe I don't even know if your photos take up 100 gigs. Maybe they do. My video footage certainly does. I've got terabytes of video footage, but anything that isn't video footage, I keep in Drive. And I think most people on this planet do not need 100 gigabytes. I think most people, unless they're photographers or videographers or creatives of some sort, don't even need more than the 15 that you get for free.
Yeah.
So I recommend Google Drive simply for price reasons, but most of these services work very similarly. I know Dropbox integrates well with like Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office has their own, or I guess Microsoft. I don't remember what it's called. OneDrive, maybe?
That sounds right. maybe.
They're all pretty similar, so use whatever you want. But yeah, one thing you said is these also back up your files. And the great thing is, if you delete your files, they go into a trash in, like, say, Google Drive, where you can recover them.
Yeah.
So I think it would be crazy not to be backing up your files in this
If you're
way.
doing something important on a computer, I see no reason why you would not do this.
And for the creatives out there, I also will mention that I personally, in addition to Google Drive, use a service called Backblaze. And I've been trying to get them as a sponsor on this podcast for a long time.
Yeah.
I think we maybe had one Backblaze ad like a long time ago. I would love to advertise them more because I love them. For $5 a month, they back up an unlimited amount of data. And I think for most people, you could think of it as maybe like a redundant backup service. So for particularly paranoid people like myself, that is a benefit. But for me in particular, it means I can back up all my video footage too.
Yeah, which is a lot. So
I have
that's a good benefit.
7 terabytes of video footage backed up to Backblaze. So if there's a fire here and all my hard drives, including my backup ones, are burned to a crisp, I still have every piece of video footage I've ever shot.
Yeah.
Is there.
That's invaluable.
Which is great. Like, because there have been instances where I need it. I remember there was a project where a company wanted to license some video footage. They wanted to license, I think, 20 of my videos, and they needed slight changes to be made to them. And that was a multi-$1,000 contract.
And you need the raw old files.
And I needed the raw old files so I could open up the projects and so I could remove things or tweak things or make cuts. So I could take off little end cards that are only useful for YouTube. So if I had not had all that footage still, I don't know what I would have done. I would have been missing out on many thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So I think if you're creative, you should keep most of what you create. There are exceptions. I don't believe that we keep the raw files from this podcast because I can't see an instance where we really need to go in and redo a podcast video. We don't do any B-roll. We don't do any cuts.
Yeah, we don't really
And
edit it. So
there are 3 cameras for like an hour of footage. That's a lot.
So a lot of storage for probably not needed.
Yeah, but for my videos, I make cuts. They're big creative projects. I want to keep everything.
Yeah.
So use cloud backup of some sort. All right, last one for you.
Last one is a reusable water bottle.
Ooh, yes.
I spend so much of my time dehydrated. It's really dumb, particularly here in Denver. And I think a lot of us are probably a little dehydrated most of the time. And these kind of tiny little stresses on our body, we have so many different ones, not just dehydration, but we're like begging ourselves to ruin our bodies and minds. We're like, hey, what if I don't breathe well because I'm looking at my electronics? Hey, what if I'm constantly running low on the one main thing my body wants to function all over it? What if we just hurt ourselves a little bit every day for 10 years? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
We'll be hurt a lot. So just a
like
reusable
that
water
1%.
bottle. Yeah, it's like it helps me remember the one thing that I forget far too often.
It's hard to remember to drink water.
At least it helps me remember when I keep it clean and on my desk.
Yeah. So I did that video on hydration, which basically stated that you basically need to drink to thirst. So I don't know if we're constantly running like dehydrated. Maybe some people are.
I am.
But I know that people definitely replace water with drinks they shouldn't be drinking so much of. Like a lot of people probably hydrate with coffee or soda or just bad drinks when they should be doing water. And I agree that having a water bottle that's just there, convenient, within arm's reach.
Yeah, and at
that
the very
makes it
least,
easier.
it'll save a lot of temporary use water bottles.
True. It saves water bottles.
Save like the planet.
Save the whales. Drink less soda.
Definitely drink less soda.
Soda pops, they're tasty, I guess, but they're bad for you. All right, well that's I think 20 items.
Yeah.
Maybe 19. We had an overlap or two.
Well, it's okay. I had like the starter kits for books, so we made up for it.
That's true.
There's, you know?
I think the show notes for this episode are going to be ridiculous. Yeah, I think Guillermo is going to have to go do a bunch of research.
Yeah, I'm going to have to send him some specific stuff that I got.
Yeah, just like in advance, Guillermo, charge me $10 extra for this episode because there's going to be a lot of it's going to be a lot of stuff. Anyway, if you, dear listener, want to go get all those show notes, cigpodcast.com/episode. Wow, not /episode. cigpodcast.com/239 is where you can go to get links to everything we mentioned here, to the books that we maybe gave as examples for your starter kits. I think we mentioned a lot of stuff, so
Yep.
have fun. There's going to be a big old list there. And if you are watching this on YouTube or Facebook, there is a link in the description down below or to the side, so you can click that as well. And if you enjoy this podcast, number one, make sure that you are subscribed on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, whatever podcast app you like to listen to. I noticed, which we need to fix, that we took the direct download link off of the show notes pages,
that's
so
not
probably
that's
should
not
add
in
that
the new
back
one.
in.
I'll put it back.
But for people who don't know, if you subscribe to the podcast in a podcast app, including Spotify, which I didn't know until today, you can download those episodes for offline listening. So if you're watching us on YouTube, you probably got to be connected to the internet, but any podcast app is going to be downloading those episodes directly to your phone or your device, and then you can listen to them regardless of whether you're connected to the internet. I thought that Spotify was an exception and only streamed episodes, but today I was listening to Money Lab and I noticed a little download icon.
Cool.
So, and I don't know if you need premium or not, but I'm guessing most people listening to us on Spotify, well, maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. Spotify has a download link. For me, at least. So check it if Spotify is the platform you want to use. If you really like this show, share it with a friend. Maybe send them your favorite episode so they can maybe have that be their favorite episode as well, and they can become a weekly listener. And if you also want to keep supporting the show, a great way to do it, in addition to sharing it, would be to leave us a rating and review over in Apple Podcasts if you are an Apple Podcast listener. But regardless of whether or not you decide to do that, just want to say thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for sticking with us for 239 episodes so far. We're not going anywhere anytime soon, so stick around for new episodes every single Monday morning. And until the next one comes out, stay cute.